Hey there, my name is Alex. I am the Silver Mont, and in this video we're going to talk a little about Assassin's Creed, a franchise that has been around since November 2007, and yet has more than 20 entries, if we count spin-offs and the like, but not the movie. But it's a very interesting franchise, and one that's always been of rather middling quality in a lot of ways. Originally, the idea for this video was, well, I'm gonna do a review of Valhalla, the latest main entry from a year or two ago. But whilst playing that, it got me thinking about the franchise as a whole, how much it has changed over the years, and how, lately, it seems to have really embraced the copy-paste style, a problem that spreads to other Ubisoft titles. Having played Valhalla, Ghost Recon Breakpoint, and Far Cry 6 all in the same day, it was shocking to me how they were effectively slightly different executions of the same template, the Ubisoft open world. Playing Assassin's Creed Unity made me realise that, well, they seem to be going on autopilot. If we compare Unity with Valhalla, the overall level of quality has taken a dive. Unity gave us a huge city full of detail and dozens of interiors to enter seamlessly. Then with Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla, we get miles and miles of empty fields, copy-pasted environments, and well, really tiny cities to explore that feel all the more undersized given how they are footnotes of these absolutely massive empty worlds. And yes, I know what you're thinking, Unity was completely broken at launch, right? Yeah, and it still has some bugs now. It was perhaps overly ambitious for the development team, you might say. But here's the thing, maybe you're wondering, empty? How can you describe Valhalla, Origins, and Odyssey as empty? Don't you see the map? It's got 1 billion things to do. They are full of things, in the same sense that if I sent you out to a field and said it's full of grass, but if there was nothing else there, it would also be empty. The grass doesn't make it noteworthy. Certainly there's loads of collectibles, materials, resources, and so on to pick up, but if we boil it down to actual worthwhile items, that count is cut by magnitudes. Same with presentation. Unity's cutscenes and dialogue scenes are a lot less copy and paste than the newer games, which rarely bother having handcrafted cutscenes. Most of it is just characters stand face to face and say words style scenes, which I've never been a huge fan of. I mean, I get why they are necessary, because you can't handcraft every single dialogue scene in a game. But perhaps one point we can give to Valhalla, and Origins, and Odyssey, as all three games are identical in a lot of ways, would be playability, the fun factor. The combat went from mini Batman Arkham Asylum to mini Dark Souls, and yet, whilst it only gets the most superficial aspects of Dark Souls combat, it still feels better than the older combat style. Even if it's a little bizarre, as the old style of combat makes more sense for an assassin who realistically would struggle against multiple opponents, compared to the newer games where I can just dunk on 20 people by myself. Oh, there's nothing wrong with the animations in the old or the new, but it's a general lack of understanding as to what makes Souls combat, and indeed combat in general, feel good. Let me use a really basic example. An enemy in Dark Souls will start their attack animation, and unless the attack itself involves movement, they will remain largely stationary whilst attacking, meaning you can reposition yourself, you can walk away from it, you can run away from it, you can roll away from it, you can even jump away from it. An enemy in Valhalla will start attacking and glide towards you as they do so, their feet sliding across the floor as they lock into position wherever you are. That, and some generally awful hit detection and bugginess and bizarre balance, yeah. But you know, for the most part, it's fine. The emphasis on these games isn't the combat. The bigger issue, to me, is how every game is just full of the aforementioned giant empty fields where they want you to look at every single blade of grass and act like that's content. And it feels like there's a lack of focus. What are these games trying to be? In short, they want to do everything and arguably do nothing. Story presentation is lacking, combat isn't best in class, nor are the graphics, nor is the open world itself, nor, well, anything. We can argue that these games perhaps have the best free-running mechanics though, I suppose. I can't really think of any off the top of my head. And it is pretty impressive how seamless and smooth much of the free-running animations and stuff are. Where I'm going with all this is, fundamentally, what should Assassin's Creed be? For me, a big part of the appeal was always the free exploration of these historical cities, Rome, Paris, you name it. Removing that aspect, the cities in the last 3 games being pretty lame and tiny, is baffling to me. That and many of the older, how to put it, core mechanics, hiding in crowds and other stealth elements are barely utilized now. Yes, you can hide in a crowd in Valhalla, but the crowds are usually like 2 people. Look at the crowds in Unity, where it actually is one of the few games where a city feels populated realistically. Do they want Assassin's Creed to be a standard action game or a stealth game? It can't really be both. Going forward, my main desire would be that they return to the city-based games instead of the field-based games. The fact that Unity had co-op that allowed you to explore the city with friends but was then removed from the open world games where it would make more sense to be in too is, well, that's really strange to me, and I hope they bring that back. I know one of the upcoming games is taking place in Japan, which seems to make sense. Ninjas, assassins, and whatnot. I would love it if they gave a bit more fine-tuning to the combat and emphasized the stealth elements of these games. Give us a large city as the sandbox. Edo, I don't know, wherever. Bring the co-op back. Co-op stealth games can be really fun. Look at Splinter Cell. Having all the tools available at your disposal to work together to achieve your goals. Of course, we've not had a new Splinter Cell in like 10 years. Oh well, get on that, Ubisoft. For goodness sake, don't make open world Splinter Cell or I will shake my head vigorously. But to end this video, I'd like to know what you think of Assassin's Creed. Where should it go in the future? It's a very interesting topic to me. These games have never been my favourites, but I usually play most of them now and then. They're interesting, and it's fun to explore the, well, not replicated cities, but an artist's interpretation of these old historical cities, shall we say. Lots of potential that they never quite reached. So let me know down in the comments. Till next time, you guys take care. Thanks so much for watching. Ciao.